Week 20 of the 2023-24 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review, Los Angeles Clippers edition. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thePeachBasket.net and formerly the featured columnist covering the Clippers for Bleacher Report. This is the show where we recap the week that was for the LA Clippers and then highlight their marquee matchup for the week to come. We start like we always do by taking a look at where the team lands on the Peach Basket's objective power rankings this week. The Clippers finished the week at 3-1. Now, I had predicted a 2-2 week and actually had the first three games picked perfectly in terms of wins and losses. They won against the Timberwolves, 89-88. They lost to the Bucks, 113-106. And then they beat the Houston Rockets, 116-112. So, listen, I was feeling good. And then the Clippers had to go and win the game against the Chicago Bulls and ruin everything. I'm just kidding. It was an early game. I thought the Bulls, I know the Bulls were coming in hot. Clippers do not do well in early games, early afternoon games. So I really thought the Clippers would drop that one. But they came through and beat a pretty good, maybe not a very good, but a pretty good Chicago Bulls team. And as I said on X, I would rather the Clippers win than me being right about them losing. So instead of 2-2 week, as I predicted, they were 3-1, and good for them. That was enough to keep the Clippers at number 4 in the West in our objective power rankings and number 5 overall, no change from last week. Now let's take a look at the best to do it in key categories for the Clippers. The Clippers' top scorer was once again Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi played 4 games and averaged 22.2 points to lead the team in week number 20. Paul George was the best sniper in week number 20, averaging 3.2 three-point field goals made over his 4 games played. Kawhi was the overall best shooter, averaging 8.9 made field goals over his 4 games played. Now, Mason Plumlee only played 1 game in week number 20, but he made it count. He was the overall best rebounder, averaging 11 rebounds per game, the best offensive rebounder, pulling down 4, and the best defensive rebounder, grabbing 7. We'll actually hear from Mason again in a bit. James Harden continues to be the best assist man on the team, this week averaging 9.2 assists per game over his 4 games played. Here's Mason Plumlee again, as promised. He led the team in blocks. Again, he only played 1 game, but it was a good game. He averaged 3 blocks in his 1 game played. Kawhi Leonard led the team in steals, averaging 1.4 over his 4 games played. And Kawhi was also the overall leader in game score for the Clippers in week number 20 with a game score of 20.6. Now, as we look ahead to week 21, as the season starts to wind down, this is a tough one for the Clippers. It starts with an early game against the Milwaukee Bucks. This is the second of a back-to-back. Matter of fact, that game is going on right now as I record this show. Then they meet the Timberwolves, who without Karl Anthony Towns, unfortunately, but of course they still have Anthony Edwards. Then they travel to Chicago to take on the Bulls again and end the week with a game against the team that they could very well face in the playoffs, the New Orleans Pelicans. We know that the Clippers have not had a lot of success against the Pelicans in the past, so this game especially is going to be important and, for me, the marquee matchup of week number 21. We'll get a really good feel for how ready the Clippers are for the playoffs after that game. I'll look into the Clippers' crystal ball again and say that the Clippers are going to be 2-2 in week 21. That includes a loss to the Bucks, a win against the Timberwolves, a loss to the Bulls, and a big win against the New Orleans Pelicans. So that's it. We're down on record, 2-2 week 21. Let's see how that plays out. I'll end with a quick look at Clippers news. We call this full court press. I just type in Los Angeles Clippers and see if anything interesting and worth talking about comes up on page 1. This week, it seems like the Clippers are kind of flying under the radar a bit. The only articles that showed up on page 1 were game recaps and game previews. Nothing, let's say, riveting. I had to go all the way to page 2 to find an article about Halo Sports and Entertainment, which is an interesting development for the Clippers, but not anything I wanted to really dive into. So the article instead I want to really dig into a bit is entitled G League Hoops in Oceanside, ? Announcement plan for Monday fuels speculation by Darnay Tripp for NBC San Diego. Now, I think this is kind of interesting. It doesn't really relate to the Clippers team, but the Clippers franchise. As we know, right? They started in Buffalo, but they got their name Clippers because of their time in San Diego, and the new logo represents that with a ship on the logo. So I think it's kind of cool that there is speculation. There is a press conference scheduled for Monday, and so it looks really likely that the Clippers G League team will be based out of San Diego, which is, again, kind of cool and kind of a nod to the history of the franchise, and certainly very exciting for San Diego County that hasn't seen professional basketball since the Clippers left for Los Angeles. So we'll see if that plays out. Again, we don't know exactly. All that's planned right now is a press conference, but I know that there is some excitement in San Diego, and I just think it's a continuation of good decisions that the franchise has made. Leaving and starting, building their own facility, good decision. Marketing themselves as distinct from the other team, Los Angeles, good decision. Certainly winning more against that team, good decision. And now kind of growing roots where the franchise started here in California and San Diego is another good decision. That's it. Week 20 of the Clippers 2023-24 NBA season is in the books. Join us next week after week number 21 when we once again run it back.